Good morning and welcome to WNHH-FM's Dateline, New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make our city tick. We're hurtling toward the end of another action-packed week in New Haven. So we're going to take a moment to reflect on the headlines of the week, read comments posted by the readers of the New Haven Independent about stories behind those headlines, and then comment on the commenters and intersperse it with some recordings by local musicians. That's a lot of words to say headlines and basslines. Joining me in this endeavor are Babs Ivy, who you've been fortunate enough to listen to for the last 2 hours here on WNHH and the editor of the Inner City.
She's pulling a third hour.
She is. She doesn't stop.
A warrior.
Bob McCormick, legendary New Haven radio personality.
All Bengals spiced up here.
All Bengals spiced up. And then I heard, I think I saw a fleeting image. I just saw a vision
I saw
walking
Joe
by
Ugly.
me. That looked like Joe Ugly, didn't it?
Sure did.
Because when Joe Ugly's in the house, there's no mistaking that Joe Ugly's in the house. Joe Ugly is in the house from
All
Ugly
right,
Radio.
Joe
Ugly in the morning. Great to see you, Joe. Thanks for coming by. And I'm hoping Harry Dro's going to join us. We'll see.
Papers out there?
So, folks, let's get to work. This isn't just play here, all right? We're going to talk about stuff going on in the comments the commenters had and read their comments. So, one story we had this week, the story comes and goes, and it's sort of it's deja vu when we report it. And that's about all the shenanigans with the towing companies in town. They get we talked the week before about one towing company, Anthony's, which is actually 3 towing companies on one lot. His dead father is listed as the head of one of the companies, his wife of the other, and then he is listed as legal owner of all of them for the DMV. In fact, he's listed as the owner on all of them at the Secretary of State. But because he technically has 3, he gets 3 contracts with the city to tow your car. Anyway, he got caught, his guy, trying to shake someone down in New Hallville, a registered nurse.
Didn't the Independent just report that one of the towing companies got suspended just this past week?
That's right. Oh, you know what? But that's not the one we were talking about. We're talking about another towing company, Grand Auto, which takes its logo from Grand Theft Auto.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
The movie? Is that a movie?
No, the video game.
The video game. I'm sorry. I'm not into video.
So these guys had 2, this guy and his wife, who he didn't even admit when the cops came to get him that it was his wife. She said, I'm his wife. He said, she's my girlfriend. The reason is because they kept hiding who's running what company, because they were running 2 used car lot towing operations. One of them closed down on Crown Street, and that's where everyone went when their car got towed.
Yeah.
They're toughies over there.
They were tough. If you didn't have exact change, they kept it another day instead of letting you overpay. And they would get in fights. There was a protest with Donald Morris there. Any case, they sold their lot because they couldn't turn down all that money they got for this lot on Crown Street. But they wanted to keep this contract they had with the city where they got to tow a lot of cars there, but they weren't there anymore. So they wanted to tow them to this other lot they have on Grand Avenue, but they didn't have a legal right to do so. So for months at the end of last year, the city let them keep doing it, even while the state and the cops tried to shut them down. And we got a story about the state DMV cops. You didn't know they exist. They came.
There's DMV cops?
Yeah,
and
they came.
Absolutely.
And they said, you run a legal junkyard here. And this guy, Jeff, who runs it with the Grand Theft Auto logo, he says, I don't work here. I'm just hanging out here. And then there's a cop who says, come on, Jeff. We do it all the time.
What exactly happened at Crown Towing a few years back?
That's when they would shake down people. They'd say, here, give me some cash. You get your car back. So they gave some cash. They said, you got to pick it up. Then they go pick it up. They say, oh, we have no record. You gave us cash. You got to give us cash again.
Oh, my God.
And they're doing that a
Yes.
lot.
I thought that's what it was about. I wasn't sure.
So in any case, these guys have been, the next day to Sunday, and the city kept, at the end of last year, kept keeping him in business even while the state and the cops were trying to shut him down to boot your car. This guy got the booting contract, a monopoly. For 10 years, he's had a monopoly contract. Nobody else gets it. And what's lovely is that the towing companies rat on each other because they're all doing skeezy stuff, so they always tell you what the other one's doing. So these guys for 10 years, for some reason, had this contract doing skeezy stuff. And then when they legally had no more lot to stow the cars, the city still found a way to try to make it seem like they could still do it. So that's what our story was about.
Isn't it like $80 to tow a car?
That's just part of the fee, and then $55 for the storage, the back.
The ticket, too.
Yeah. So, and the boot. So anyway, here's what people said after we revealed that this scofflaw towing company kept a city contract, monopoly contract to tow and boot scofflaws. What did TM Teague say, Babs?
Only business I've ever dealt with that only accepts exact change down to the penny.
And we've heard a lot from people that. So you come in the middle of the night, they got your car, and if you owe 131 and you only have 130, or if you want to give them 140, they won't take it. So then pile up for the next day. You got to come back. Okay.
The attitude is, if you owe me $100, don't give me 99.
Joe, what did Alex write?
I thought Elka was supposed to be against corruption. There's really nobody who can tow cars in New Haven area. Well, I take it that's a question.
Yeah.
Call me unconvinced.
And the reason that was for is because, like, Tony Harp gave this guy the contract when everybody was trying to shut him down. And then Elliker kept it going, saying that in the short term, we need people to boot cars because if they're not paying the taxes, we need their tax revenue. Bob, what did Over the River Through the Hood write?
Crown Towing are grade A scumbags. Wow. Nothing.
Grade A.
Grade A. Sounds like eggs. Nothing would make this happier or secure my boat more than these predators being run out of town. My last run with them went like this. After a long day of work, I returned to my car, which is parked in a garage that I pay hundreds of dollars to the New Haven Parking Authority for a pass for every month. And what he did was he found a boot on it. My passenger, who is on crutches, waits in the car while I walk the 4 to 5 blocks to get to Crown. Upon getting there, I am informed that I can't pay with my credit card because my license has my middle initial on it.
Wow.
And my car does not. And they have to be an exact match, despite a wallet full of IDs that matches the name on the car registration. So I have to pay them in cash because we all walk around with that kind of money and that it must be exact to the penny. Why they can't make change is a mystery. So now I have to find an ATM to get cash, and I have to them to buy something to get change because ATMs only give out 20s and pay a bank fee for the withdrawal. And all this jumping through the hoops is for the great privilege of getting my own car returned to me from these thieves, so that I can finally drive myself back to my house that I pay thousands in city taxes on every year. This kind of antagonistic disrespect of residents of this city is BS. I hope Crown Towing and all the others are kicked to the dustbin of history and debtor's prison.
Yeah, so that's another scam they had going. They get to keep your car another day. You pay more if you go down there because they say you got to give us exact to the penny with cash or you can't get it. Or, as they said there, you have a J in your name as a middle initial but not on your credit card. And even if you have 10 other IDs, you have to come back. That's why people are just fed up and outraged for years with these people with these monopoly contracts who always give money to the politicians for election. Just sort of why some of us believe in public financing. Pedro Soto, what did he say, Babs?
I've been saying this for years. The city should be in charge of booting and towing for unpaid taxes, period. Look at the level of company that they have to contract out to. This is a practice that needed to end yesterday. Setting up an impound lot, allowing people to pay via credit card, and handling the whole process with an ounce of compassion would go pretty far on this.
James Sunderland had something to say, Joe. What'd they say?
It's telling and just a bit on the nose that the font used on Grand Theft Auto Center is the same as the font used in the video games Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, and Crown and Grant are one company. That's why the guy was denying that the one was his wife because they put one in one name, one in the other.
Okay.
Kevin68 wrote, well, it's my turn. These people are parasites who make their living off of other people's misfortune. I had the bad luck of parking on House Street one night and realizing my car had been towed. Apparently, I owed $99.10 in taxes on a car I hadn't owned in years. I walked to Crown Towing and was told about their exact change policy. I had $100 and told them to keep the 90 cents change. The woman told me it had to be exact. Man, these people. I asked where I might find change since it was late and pouring. She said, that's not my fucking problem. Now, in this moment, admittedly, I lost my moral footing, that suggesting that she find a new line of work before the shitty karma she doles out catches her in the form of some horrible, painful disease. That comment set in motion a confrontation that resulted in all the tow truck drivers speeding back to the office to kick my ass. I was smart enough to give 911 a heads up. So they arrived pretty quickly. This is like Grand Theft Auto. The result was that I had to come back the next day with a cooler head to get my car with no extra fees. I picked up my car, had some words with the owner about how he treats customers, and left. I was just glad it didn't smell like piss inside. I went home, parked my car in my New Haven driveway, and when I went to go to work in the morning, I had 2 slashed tires. Dear Mayor, these people are criminals who extort, intimidate, and damage taxpayer property. The end.
Wow.
Hartman 13, a retired New Haven police officer. What did he say, Bob?
Don't blame Justin. Blame the corrupt business owner. We all are vulnerable to having the wool pulled over our eyes. I'm confident the matter with Crown/Grand Auto will be resolved and we'll never have to see or do business with them again. City/TTP and PD run towing is the way to go. Mr. Mayor, I'm ready to pitch an idea that could solve the problem and in turn bring to close close to $3 million collected by contract towers. I think there are about 10, though I know of one that operates more than one company name under one business. At least that was the case 2 years ago. Back into New Haven's coffers. Coffee with a question mark.
He's asking the mayor to go to coffee with him. Thomas Alfred Payne, Babs, he weighed in.
Is
this going to be a happy story, you think? Like, I love the towing company. I'm ready for one of those.
No, I don't.
You don't think so? Okay.
I was once towed by Crown. I had to get a ride to their lot. When I got there, I found out about their cash-only policy. I did not have the amount of cash required with me, then they did not take credit cards. I then had to get a ride home to get the cash, and then return to the Crown lot to get my car. The city should require all towers to take credit card payments to make it more convenient for residents and visitors to New Haven. That provision should be added to all towing contracts with the city. It is stressful enough to get towed, but to finally find your car, get to the location, and only find that you have to go home or to a bank or to an ATM to get cash and return to the lot adds a totally unnecessary burden.
By the way, the cops do that too, where you have to have the exact number of pennies. I tried to pay for an FOI at the police department, and they wouldn't let me overpay by 40 cents. I had to have exact change. I had to go to Union Station, buy like a cupcake I wasn't going to eat so I could get the coins.
Wow.
Man, what century are these people in? Joe Ugly, bring it home with Boy Roy. What did Boy Roy write?
Boy Roy wrote.
Oh, this is about, we had a video of a guy who called me up at how bad this company was when they towed his car. And he said, look at this video. It shows how bad they were. And I thought it showed how bad he was. They were trying to put the boot on. He starts driving away this expensive BMW and screws up his car, blames them for it, swears at the guy for doing it, because says that you're dumb because you're a tow truck guy, no wonder. And he thought we were going to look at this video and sympathize with him.
So he's sending evidence against himself. Way to go.
So now the guy who actually booted his car, this guy, he's the guy writing here. He wrote in.
Boy Roy.
Yeah, Boy Roy.
Boy Roy says.
His real name's Lewis.
Okay, Lewis says, the guy in the BMW with the Massachusetts plate is a liar and a con man. He's trying to con his insurance company to fix his car. I was there when it all happened. I was the guy who actually put the boot on the front tire of the BMW. I wish his insurance company would contact me so I can tell them exactly how it happened. That guy didn't want to talk or do anything. He jumped in his car and took off. I was screaming and yelling, don't do it. You got a boot on the front tire. Don't do it. And he still tried to take off in his car. I have the video as well.
We ran the video.
Wow.
He's a con man trying to get Grant Auto to pay for his car. Yes. Had he came out and asked what was going on with, we would have booted his car because we wouldn't have booted his car because we don't want confrontation. However, it escalated so fast. I put the front boot on the front tire. And as I was about to put it on the back tire, I heard something running real fast, screaming and yelling. Oh, excuse me. I heard someone running real fast, screaming and yelling behind me. As I looked to see who it was, this guy came running out and jumped in his car, started it up, and tried to take off as I was screaming and yelling at him, "Don't do it. You got a boot."
Mm-hmm.
I think it is boot.
Mm-hmm.
You got a boot on the front tire. He still got in his car and tried to take off and said we messed his car up. So someone please contact me for the full story or how his car got like that.
So here's my good question, folks. You're listening to WNHH-FM, Dateline, New Haven, headlines and baselines, reading the comments of commenters and local music. Usually we like to talk about the comments. I have a feeling they said it all. What do you folks think?
I think so.
Oh, I think they definitely.
Then let's listen to Kristen Ford, one of New Haven's greats, who's trying to make it nasty. But in the meantime, we're going to play her with El Camino because she's got a car and they can't catch her on the boot because she's driving her El Camino.
You can tell me no, 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 no. You can tell me no, 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 no. But I gotta drive like an El Camino. You could call me slow, 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 slow. You could call me slow, 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 slow. But I am a Mack truck creeping on uphill. Music's gonna set my soul, and I still love rock and roll. Music's gonna set my soul. Music's gonna set my soul, and I still love rock and roll. Music's gonna set my soul. We know what we want. We know who we are, and we won't forget it. No, we won't forget it. We know what we want. We know what we want. We're gonna go and get it. We're gonna go and get it. And get it. Music's gonna set my soul, and I still love rock and roll. Music's gonna set my soul. Music's gonna set my soul, and I still love rock and roll. Music's gonna set my soul. You can tell me no, 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 but I gotta drive like an El Camino.
El Camino with Kristen Ford on Headlines and Baselines. WNHH-FM, the week-ending show. We talk about the stories in the news, what the commenters wrote in the Independent.
Can I just
commenting
make
on
a
the
comment?
commenters. Yes, and Bob McCormack, who's helping us read along with Babs Ivy and Joe Ugly. Before we move to the next one, you wanted to weigh in on the towing.
Yes, the towing has been a big issue for years. I applaud the Independent for doing stories on it. And
Thanks,
for
Bob.
these folks commenting, they can't be lying, Mayor Elliker or Police Chief Reyes. So maybe they're listening, watching, and they'll get the message, what these people are saying. I know years ago, there was a feel in New Haven that the city and the towing companies were targeting African Americans when they went to church or to
And
the
Latinos.
Well, they
Walmart.
were. Absolutely. They were.
The Walmart on Route 80.
Route-
They've been towing cars for years, and it's not cheap to get it back,
Hundreds of dollars. minimum.
especially if you owe parking tickets to the city.
Oh, I've had that happen too many times.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't even.
You owe the parking tickets. I've dealt with Crown Towing, and I've dealt with one out on Middletown Avenue. I forgot the name of it. I want to call it Wheeler.
There
It
are
may
three
be Wheeler.
names, and there's also Anthony's High Tech and Lombard Motors in Fountain.
Anthony High Tech is in Milford, though.
Well, he lives in Milford, and he has a business there, but he has an also these High Tech out of Gando Drive, so he gets the New Haven contract. He's got one lot with 3 companies.
So once again, applause to the Independent for doing a story on,
Thanks, Bob.
towing issues.
We had
in
another
this
story
area.
this week, Bob, about we've had a lot of people dying, getting hit by cars, pedestrians. We've had 4 this year already. We're in February. We had 9 last year. We've had 4 times many people killed this year by cars than by guns. And we also have other people hit, like someone with a walker in the middle of the street who wasn't going to get arrested till we showed the video.
And then a woman just got hit right down the street.
Well, this is what this story is. So creating kids as a daycare, childcare. There's a woman who's a Yale professor who was walking there to pick up her kid from the daycare. She's right in front of the daycare on Orange Street at Wall. She's in the crosswalk. It's rush hour. A woman with a suspended light hit her, knocked her to the ground. She broke her hip and fractured her skull.
Wow.
They did charge the woman. They're starting to charge her. So that was another. We're making a point, not a subtle one, that every time this happens, our headline is another driver hits another pedestrian. Babs, what did average taxpayer write?
We need enforcement and a change to our culture of reckless driving. Please, Mayor Elliker, call in Governor Lamont. The state should be able to fund a special task force to start increased enforcement of existing traffic laws. The additional officers could be paid for from the increased ticket revenue.
Ethan J.R.T. weighed in, and Joe Ugly, what did Ethan say?
This is insane. I think it's time to revisit the red light cameras.
Noteworthy, as usual, a different take. Noteworthy wrote, one could sit on their ass for 13 years, passing all kinds of laws. That clearly falls short. There needs to be a comprehensive education marketing plan for pedestrians and drivers. You know, practical stuff. No, you don't just auto walk into a crosswalk. And no, you don't plan on driving through a crosswalk when there are walkers. I've seen plenty of both. 3/5 weighed in, as 3/5 want to do. What did 3/5 say, Bob?
As I said before, to fix this problem, it takes cooperation of cyclists, pedestrians, and vehicle operators. The drivers in each case should be prosecuted. But I am sick and tired of jaywalkers, people who text and walk in the streets without looking. That's a big problem. Cyclists running red lights and riding on the sidewalk. Just today, on my way to the edge of the woods, I saw people crossing in the middle of the street to go to stop and shop on Whaley. I saw a guy coming out of the AAA walking in the middle of the block and texting, and the car came to a stop, and the other car almost hit him in the rear. And the guy walking put his middle finger up at the driver. We need to go after everybody.
Babs, City Yankee weighed in. What did City Yankee write?
It isn't just reckless driving. It is reckless living. Our whole distracted, entitled, oblivious mentality. There's a price to be paid for not caring about anything but your phone.
Joey 1948 had something to say.
There is one area of drivers' carelessness that I would like to see enforced, although it wasn't a factor in the professor incident. That is how drivers do not stop on red before making a right turn. They tend to treat right on red as a yield sign rather than the way the right on red law is intended. The second peeve of my mind is how drivers stop beyond the line and breach pedestrian crosswalk. These are qualities of life issues, relatively small, but with big consequences. Tickets need to be written on these infractions. Then we will see more careful drivers.
B. Anderson wrote, every weekday around 5 p.m., I drive down Orange Street from Trimble Street toward College Woods Park. Without fail, every single day, I see a car run a red light at the Humphrey Orange intersection, most commonly a car heading northeast on Humphrey toward Whitney, and or the Cold Spring Orange intersection, most commonly a car in Cold Spring. There are often many pedestrians, cyclists around as well. Enforcement at these intersections at this time of day would easily bear fruit. Bob, what did George Polk say?
Whenever I walk in New Haven, I walk defensively. I keep an eye on oncoming traffic. I don't walk across the street with the thought that I have the right of way, even if there is one of those yield to pedestrian signs. I make sure the car is stopped. Some drivers, I can tell, push hard on the brake because drivers tend to look for red stop signs to their right or traffic lights above or to their right. Any walker on the left hand is not on priority sight. They tend to see that person much closer to the crosswalk. A crosswalk is a painted line. It is not a force field. I agree with Joy that right on red has become slow and roll. Drivers, you may have the green light if you're going straight, but once you need to make a turn, you don't. As for pedestrians, a vulnerable users law. What words, Smith, we have in our legislatures. The new law isn't another excuse to stride across the street with head held high, with earbuds in or head down and eyes locked on screen.
Well, Henry C.T., longtime activist in New Haven, had something to say about this, Babs. What did Henry C.T. have to say?
As streets become more congested with private cars driving too fast, as drivers ignore laws that they needed to know to pass their driving test, as they and pedestrians become more hurried and more distracted, and as alternative modes of transportation, public transit, are not readily available and convenient or are carelessly used, bicycles, scooters, the inevitable clash of humans and machines take place. These are not accidents. The system almost mandates that they occur. People's lives and well-being require systematic and systemic changes, short and long term. How long will it take before there is political will to attend to and carry out these changes? Why are people in such a hurry? And why are people violating laws? And why is the driver in this instance driving with a suspended license?
Good questions all. 70 times 7 weighed in. And Joe Ugly, what did 70 times 7 have to say?
I believe it's enforcement is good. Comprehensive pedestrian safety features, road diets, and protected bike lanes are also necessary and badly needed. Above all, for safety and environmental purposes, we need to reduce the number of cars on the road. New Haven is small. No reason in the world one should need a car to get from one part of the town to another. We need convenient transportation alternatives.
William Kurtz weighed in, Bob. What did William say?
For Pete's sake, anyone talking about mythical pedestrian misdeeds in this context needs to have their head examined. Driving with a suspended license, making a left turn from a side street, and heading into a crosswalk. It's a perfect trifecta of entitled driving behavior. Once again, it's down to nothing more than a chance that the victim wasn't killed.
We're going to take it out with Mr. Schramm on this one, Babs. What did Mr. Schramm write?
We need to find ways to reduce the number of cars on the roads. The bottom line is that roads are too congested in New Haven. An added benefit would be cleaner air, quieter neighborhoods, and safer streets for pedestrians and cyclists, who have just as much right to move about our city as car drivers.
Who's passing the bong on that one? Okay,
Well,
so you're listening to Dateline New Haven's headlines and baselines. And does anyone, Harry Jones asked, does anyone know what you're supposed to do when a pedestrian is crossing the street? You're supposed to yield.
Yeah.
Regardless if the pedestrian is jaywalking, yield to the pedestrian.
You're at the right. I mean,
He's
at the
right.
wrong, I should
So
say.
we're talking at
You're not right,
101.5
you're wrong.
FM live stream, newhavenindependent.org.
But Paul, I wanted to
Commenting
say,
on commenters. And Bob, what did you want to comment on the commenters?
I saw a story the other day on TV about the worst intersections in the state, and 2 of them are right here in New Haven.
Which one?
One of them is right downstairs.
I would agree.
That's a crazy one. With the construction.
Orange Street,
and Elm.
yes, Orange and Elm. But the 2 were Foxen Boulevard and Quinnipiac Avenue.
Yeah. A lot of people, yeah.
And the other intersection we all should know is
Whaley?
Columbus and the Boulevard.
Yeah.
Can I just
It's
ask
a
a
very
question?
bad one too.
And people do die there quite a bit or get hit quite a bit.
And I want to
so
say
that's
they're
done.
either second and third or third and fourth
Wow.
in the state.
Recently, at the corner of Temple and Chapel, they were giving out tickets or warnings or so to people who are walking into the street when the lights were
Right.
red. What do you do in the instance down like for downstairs? There's no walk sign.
Right.
So what do they do?
Not only is there a wall walk sign, in 3 directions there are always cars coming.
Yes.
Correct.
That's a major road, so you really can never legally cross unless it's like
Exactly
the
my
middle of the
point.
night. There are no cars. Well, what they did is they put up a big sign that you're supposed to read and take 40 minutes to read. Pedestrians
Has
have
the
the
right
right.
of-
You can yield at one of the turns only.
Right. Which I had to
when
point
people
to a
are-
bus driver.
Yeah, if people
that
are
ignored.
driving fast, they don't stop their car suddenly and say, "I'm going to take 5 minutes to read this book up there."
I will say something to all our viewers and listeners. The New Haven police are now pulling drivers over. And I see it on my Facebook page, and I was on Quinnipiac Avenue the other day, and I was surprised to see 2 cars.
They've made twice as many
All
stops so
over.
far this year as last year
Yes.
for traffic enforcement.
Hey, listen, if you're going to be riding crazy, right, or they say driving reckless, if you want to do this stuff, look, it has consequences.
But
People's lives are in danger.
let's talk how fast can we go in New Haven?
Most streets
or in the
25.
city, let's
Most
say.
places you're supposed to go 25.
25.
But most
Mhm.
people do 40. I would
Yeah.
think in New Haven.
They actually
At
clocked
least
it. On
30
some
to
streets, they
35.
found that people where one thought it was going too fast actually were going 25, but other ones they were going as much as 60 on Whitney.
Woof.
Yeah.
Oh.
Babs, you've been kind of quiet on this one.
I mean,
You
because
for or
I
against pedestrians getting hit?
I think we have a real problem. I mean, I don't enjoy driving in this city at all. I really, it's very stressful for me to drive.
Especially down Jack Donkey Boulevard.
I don't think the lights work in concert to the traffic.
Right, people get frustrated.
I think, I think it's not a very walkable, friendly city for pedestrians.
Mhm.
It's damn sure not a bike-friendly community.
When I'm walking, I walk every day, and there's a place on Whaley where I cannot guarantee I won't die. And that's the first Whaley and Blake intersection,
Yep.
curves
Yep.
right after Boulevard.
Mhm.
Because it's such a long one that I look to make sure no cars are coming. But by the time I'm in the middle, they come so fast because it's a curve. It's
Yep.
dug out, this really wide curve. They're on their phones, and they come so fast that even if no car's coming, by the time you're in the middle, it's still too late. They still come, and I've almost been hit a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
Wow. And this is at the corner, the intersection of Whaley and Blake?
Yeah, the first Whaley and Blake next to the boulevard, 1 block from the boulevard. So
Oh,
what
okay.
happens is that's street
Yes.
engineering because no one here brought up street engineering. The way the streets are designed are for cars to go as fast when they turn. So there's no light there, there's no crosswalk. But if they fixed another one that was like it, if you make like a 90-degree turn, so you
Mhm.
make it like an angle,
Right.
then you can't go so fast. But they're so used to every day driving fast down Whaley and then zooming through the slalom. That's
Yeah.
a
Right.
curve there.
Yeah.
And they're often on their phone. They feel bad because I don't mean to yell. That just sometimes when they almost hit me, I've yelled out and they
Mhm.
look up like, well, what's going on? I don't know.
Like,
No.
yeah, you almost killed me. No, I think this is a real. I think this is a real city problem that can be, if political will and attention were paid to it, can be resolved.
But you raised a very interesting point, Paul and Babs, in regards to the lights. Traffic lights in the city are very annoying if you're a driver. I don't know if they're designed that way to try to deter you from, moving
I've been
your
told that
vehicle.
they're just places where it's just a broken system. The whole system is expensive to fix, especially on Whaley.
I came down Olive Street this morning at Grand, and the light changes quick on Olive. Changes
Yeah.
very quick.
Either
Grand-
it's changing quick or you go from one block to another, stop. Next block,
Yeah, you're just
stop.
driving
Next-
to the light.
Exactly.
That's
you
what
just
I
dri-
always feel like.
and
I'm
that
just driving to the light.
I believe that creates some level of anxiety with the drivers, and that could contribute. That could be part of the contribution to this because now you got people trying to rush to get at least 2 lights.
Now we've
Yeah.
we've had 3 fatalities this year,
4.
correct? 4.
Hmm.
Now have 4 drivers been charged yet?
No, because they're investigating 2 of them, which is a black hole. It takes a long, long time here, and was it forgotten? They usually get off.
Well, do we have a magic number where we say enough is enough?
No, but we do have existential threats that Chesky deals with in a song called, is our favorite one. Harry and I love the song Middle Earth with the rapper Samus, who came in from Ithaca to do it with them. And it's a cry from the heart from here on Headlines and Basslines. Chesky and Samus doing Middle Earth.
Try that again. Slipping my way through the cracks, and I hope you don't overreact when my body collapses. I've been wandering, hoping to find my own place on this planet. I've been up in the middle of it, I've been up in the middle of it, in the middle earth. I've been nothing but real with you, I've been nothing but real with you. Slipping my way through the cracks, and I hope you don't overreact when my body collapses. I've been wandering, hoping to find my own place on this planet. I've been up in the middle of it, I've been up in the middle of it, in the middle earth. I've been nothing but real with you, I've been nothing but real with you, till the dirt honesty overrated? How many times have I said the same thing in new ways? Start to think it's the way that my life's gonna be, and I guess that's okay. Wanted to be a grunge singer when I was a child. Grew up fast and wild. Now the crow's feet are crawling all over my face every time that I smile. What you know about being decapitated while your body still rolls around aimlessly? Is there a way for me to face my infinite demons and maintain a sense of stability? Hustling for pennies like I was still 14. I ain't ready to grow up. Just wasn't made for these times. Realize I will never blow up, and that's fine. I'm not Cobain or Cornell or Lane. I'm just floating inside my own lane. Every word that I'm singing is plain. Just hoping that someone out there can relate. And there's times when I hate my brain, when I drive directly into trees. Think of 6 million ways to stop breathing, but my heart is pounding from the anxiety. Every year it gets sadder and fatter to the point that you realize none of it matters much. For the minutes we have on this planet, we're seeking love, and that's more than enough. Call it what you want, call it God, call it your freedom. That connection between living beings is a powerful thing, and that's real to us. Slipping my way through the cracks, slipping my way through the cracks. Slipping my way through the cracks, slipping my way through the cracks. And I know she don't love me like that, and I know she don't love me like that. Not the gay nor the lady, maybe neither of them gonna love me back. No, slipping my way through the cracks, slipping my way through the cracks. Slipping my way through the cracks, slipping my way through the cracks. And I know she don't love me like that, and I know she don't love me like that. Not the gay nor the lady, maybe neither of them gonna love me back. No.
Yeah, I am a middle child. It took me a little while to stop trying to get the approval of others. It's better than living life in denial. My worst fears to be middling. In my nightmares, I'm a kid again. And my teacher is asking my chosen career. I deceive her, cause that's what adults want to hear. They like doctors, firefighters, not a future that's odd like it's Tyler's. It's probably a sign I can't lie through my teeth. I was missing my 2 front incisors. But now I sing my canine into sound rhymes like they steak knives. Anxiety tried me, I've died, been revived. So I'm trying to hold on to my 8 lives. And I cannot pretend I could handle it if I ended up in middle management. Yeah, I have to be fucking with something I love if I'm burning both ends of my candlestick. And even then, I'm a little carp, busy giving birth to a great tale. To my biggest fans, I am Joan of Arc, walking Middle Earth in my chainmail. Yeah.
Slipping my way through the cracks, and I hope you don't overreact when my body collapses. I've been wandering, hoping to find my own place on this planet. I've been up in the middle of it, I've been up in the middle of it, in the middle earth. I've been nothing but real with you, I've been nothing but real with you. Slipping my way through the cracks, and I hope you don't overreact when my body collapses. I've been wandering, hoping to find my own place on this planet. I've been up in the middle of it, I've been up in the middle of it, in the middle earth. I've been nothing but real with you, I've been nothing but real with you, till the dirt.
Interesting.
Yeah, Middle Earth. New Haven's Chesky teaming up with Ithaca's Samus. They met at a gig in Ithaca. They both tour the countries and record. She's a little bigger. And they decided they liked working together. She came to New Haven for this album. I love that one.
I like it too.
That is an
That's
amazing. That was
I like it.
2019. I just blew me away. I listened like several times a week. It just
And
that's
Paul,
Is that right?
Paul, if anybody has a video, how do they get in contact?
Just email
with you?
me. We like to bring them on the show, and they get on the show. We're doing headlines and baselines, New Haven, independent commenters and what they had to say. Babs Rose, Ivy, Joe Ugly, Bob McCormick commenting on the content. Sorry, squeeze one in, folks. You up for it?
Yeah.
In New Haven this week, there was a public hearing at City Hall. Arlene Tracy, school superintendent, her crew came. They talked about how for years they've been trying to get more teachers of colors in the classroom because the vast majority of New Haven public school students are black and brown, and the vast majority of teachers are white. So they've tried for years different ways to try to recruit more teachers of color. And they said, look, we're keeping up our efforts, but we don't got money. So now we're going to look to other people to help us who have money, like Southern Connecticut State University.
It sounds like something I've heard just a few weeks ago. We talked about, wasn't it in Hamden?
They have the same problem.
Yes.
Jordan Lawson says hello. Jordan, thanks for listening. So, Babs, what did Beaver Hills have to say?
Another idea is to invest in the district's paraprofessionals. Here you have a group of majority black and brown individuals who already know the schools and persist despite not being paid a living wage. In addition to increasing pay for paraprofessionals, the district should work with SCSU to create a pathway for for interested paraprofessionals to get bachelor's degrees if needed and get certified.
Amen. I remember when my kids were little in school in New Haven, the paraprofessionals are like teachers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They really
I have
are.
a friend, and I remember there was issue with wages
Oh, it's
a
incredible. I
while
get paid
back
so
when
little. It's coming up
when
again.
Mayor Harp was on your show. I
Every
think I
mayor,
asked that
every mayor,
question.
it's like they don't have money, but they're paying these people terribly, and they're doing
Mhm.
such heavy lifting. But that's a really good solution. I love the pathway to have them into teaching. They're the prospects. So what did Chris, KRIS, have to say, Joe?
Why do they need to work with SCSU, which is Southern Connecticut State University, to create a pathway for paras? Can the paras become teachers if they want to? What's stopping them other than themselves?
That's pretty ignorant. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
Well, no,
it takes
it's
money to
commentary.
get.
I mean,
it takes
it's
money
an
to get your
opinion.
degree. You got to do it after
Yeah.
hours, and you have another job. You hard to get in. I mean, come on. Okay.
Correct.
TFA 2013 writes, if New Haven Public School wants to recruit and retain teachers of color, administrators must pay all teachers more competitively, reduce the steps it takes for teachers with a BS and MS degrees to make a livable wage,
Mhm.
reimburse higher education credits, make healthcare more affordable for teachers, promote only those administrators who have teaching experience and value respect in teaching, provide teachers with supplies and materials to be successful, create a public campaign that acknowledges and encourages teachers, promote legislation that supports teachers in retirement. Trips to Spain and Puerto Rico sound fun. Can we see any data to show these efforts have been fruitful? We need to change how the city treats its teachers, and people will apply for careers in NHPS. Let's go down to Beaver Hills again, going back to Chris. Bob, what did Beaver Hills say?
They can, and some do. But it is a big hill to climb, especially when you are also working another job, because you aren't getting paid a living wage. It's challenging to find the time or money to go to school on top of that. We could and should do more to support them.
Babs, can you skip ahead a couple lines there to Russell Mama? Russell Mama waiting.
Sometimes I wonder if the district should focus their effort more on getting the demographics of the schools to reflect the demographics of the city. According to the Census Bureau, New Haven is 44% white,
That's not true, actually. It's in the 30s.
while our schools are only 12.9% white. I get that a good proportion of that 44% is the Yale students and other young adults, but I highly doubt that only 12.9% of the city population under the age of 18 is white. My son has attended a private school with financial aid after his kindergarten year at New Haven Public School System. He was punched repeatedly during recess. Nothing happened when we spoke to the teacher or administration. His teacher in kindergarten was sarcastic and demeaning to him. At the end of the year, he was reading at a second grade level, but hated reading, recess, and school. I have friends, both white and people of color, who have experienced the same story at different schools. Some tried to stick it out longer, but the same results. A lot of my friends didn't even try and fled to the suburbs or to city private schools. Many people blame whites for this white flight from the schools. I think New Haven Public Schools has more than a little responsibility for the white flight. Absolutely. Diversify the teaching faculty in New Haven Public School system. Do not do so thinking that socioeconomic diversity as well as racial diversity. But New Haven Public School is not educating all the children of the city of New Haven if only 12.9% of our student population is white.
So you guys have any thoughts on this before we go? So why aren't we getting more teachers of color? What could be done about it? Or what about what the commenters say?
I mean, this is
Well,
not just school teachers. This is firefighters. This is police. This is.
they're getting closer on police. But you're
still-
right. You're totally right. Totally
but,
right.
I mean, but you
Yeah.
know, all these things are connected. You
Yeah.
know, and they're all sort of. We understand that there's a real problem here. I don't know if we're addressing what the real problem is.
Yeah, I don't know either. Dr. Joyner, who's African American, has studied education his whole life. He says part of the problem is that the talented people could be good teachers who are African American actually have so many opportunities to make better money that he feels that we get a smaller percentage of that potential pool than white people.
So on one of the comments,
if
they
that's true.
highlighted paraprofessionals should be in the school, and we should look like that as a pathway
I agree.
to
That's a good one.
to teachers.
I mean, then you got to class a case that if they were white, they might be teachers already. If they grew up with
Correct.
other opportunities.
Correct.
They have the skills, they have the experience. So let's help people get
What
the
about
degree.
better incentives for them?
That's what other
Well,
people are
that's
saying.
right.
We don't
One
pay.
of the- we
do we
should
pay
do a-
teachers enough? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, not just the teachers, but the paraprofessionals, if I could speak.
I remember a friend of mine was a sub teacher,
Mhm.
and one
They
of the
get paid minus, right? Don't you have to pay them to let you substitute teach for a day?
It was well, they
It used to be like $50.
they
for all day.
left it. They loved to teach, but they said something about they weren't paid on time.
And then when they get paid, it's like by that time it's not worth any money
Right,
anymore.
that's what they were saying.
No,
But this was years ago. Too.
And
No,
I
but this
blame
is-
absolutely nobody at the Board of Ed. It's a tough thing. We don't have the money. We really just don't have the money.
And a lot
You
of
could
these,
always say get rid of these administrators, but the truth is, when you look at who the administrators are, you might be able to find one person, but the truth is, you have to have somebody who's making sure people are hired. You have to make someone who makes sure that your
Make sure the
books are
buses are on
balanced.
time.
Like
You have to make sure
stuff
that
has
somebody,
to be run.
You know?
somebody has to hire somebody,
Right.
right?
And a lot
So
of
like
these-
it's really we fight over the crumbs and we demonize. When the truth is, we really do, and we could always do better. Someone could always do better, but we really don't have. I think Darnell Goldson was right the way he shifted the conversation this year. And even though it didn't have much impact because we don't control how much money the state gives us, but we really don't fund education enough in this country, urban education, in my opinion.
And I was getting ready to say, you said it correct. That's not just here in New Haven; it's across the country. It's when you look at that, I would look at the documentary "Waiting for Superman."
Right, when they all think charter schools are going to save it, and they line up
Exactly.
desperately, and you don't blame those parents.
You really don't blame them because they really want the best.
And then the suburban
Every town
towns
want
with
the
their
best for
low
their kids.
property taxes, they'll pay
Yep.
the property taxes to have more in the schools because they got the money and they know how important that is.
Right,
And we would do it too if we had the money.
right. But and it
And
goes
it's
back to
sad.
what I always say. People drain the cities, and the surrounding towns drain the cities. They really do. And such as look here in New Haven. I mean, we support. If you get sick, you come to the Yale New Haven Hospital. You go to the courts. You're here. I mean, you come into the city for all types of things, restaurants. So you drain the city. Something happened to you here. This is where it's going to be react.
and a lot of the teachers depend on the paraprofessionals in the classroom.
Go
Yeah,
Paris.
they do.
Let's lift up our Paris.
I think the
We
parish
should.
should be a pipeline to teaching.
Babs Rose Ivy, you made it through 3 hours in the morning and your day back.
Wow.
Oh, before I put music on, can we do a group version of the hand washing song, or that's silly? Babs is informing us today that there's a way not to get coronavirus or the flu. Ready?
You have to wash your hands.
You wash your hands and you have,
You have to
do
sing
it.
the happy birthday
The
song.
happy birthday.
So you have to sing,
you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday,
Wash your
beautiful
hands.
person.
Wash my hands. Coronavirus.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Wash your hands. Don't get the flu. That's how it goes.
Hey, Paul.
No, you're supposed to. I'm notorious for doing that.
Drive safely if you're in New Haven right
Walk
now.
safely.
No, walk
And
safely.
walk safely too.
And wash your hands.
And
Wash your hands.
And you know what else I would love everyone to do? Is join us in dreaming big.
Here we go.
I want to thank everyone for joining us today on Datelines New Haven Headlines and Basslines. Thanks to the miracle man behind the controls, station manager Harry Drost.
Can I just say, Paul, slightly? That's what you just said. It's a perfect example of what you should do when you cough. Put it into your elbow. Because when you cough in your hand and you shake hands, you're now spreading the germs.
That's right.
I'm concerned. Concerned citizen.
Named Joe Ugly, who joined us with Bob McCormick and Babs Rawls Ivy for doing the honors today. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all weekend long at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.